Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? And thank you so much for the love and support. Hope you all are great. So, I am going to ask my people, what are you having for dinner today? Right? Because it calls whatever that happened calls for making something special, right? Christmas came early for people that look like me, and I am going to ask, why are they asking Black people why they are happy over the burning of the plantation? You are asking Black people, why are they rejoicing? Like, why wouldn't they rejoice? When I say history, education has actually failed so many people because, to my greatest surprise, some people really do not even understand why Black people are happy, or they just do not want to understand, right? But then we don't care. Black people don't care. One thing I know for sure is that the ancestors have spoken, and let the church say amen. Let my people say amen, right? I love it. I love to say things like this. Let it burn, burn to ashes. I hope it will never be rebuilt. And one down, more to go, right? Because they wake up every day to gaslight you that it's been long ago. Get over it. But they are enjoying the generational wealth from my people's sweat and blood. That is what my people labored for, free labor. And when Black people talk about reparations, they ask you, get over it, that it's been long ago. I love the fact that it burned. Let more burn. Let's get into this.
To the white people that are so fucking mad that we don't give a fuck about that Nottoway fucking plantation that was just burned down, fuck you. First of all, why the fuck would we give a fuck about a plantation that our ancestors were slaved on? Murdered, hung, beat, raped, and forced into fucking labor. Forced to pick fucking cotton as they hands bleed. Bitch, we don't give a fuck that y'all mad. Let that motherfucker burn. And to all the people that say, oh, it's for the history, we humbly decline. Fuck that history. Because y'all done played in our face too fucking long. Y'all talking about history when, bitch, all we see is fucking movies about slavery this. Oh, massa? Oh, come on, massa. How many fucking Root movies was it? Did we even need all them fucking Root movies? Write it down, take a picture, but we didn't need that fucking plantation to be standing that fucking long anyway. Thanks, Annabella.
The ancestors are shaking, and there seems to be something very spiritual about this plantation burning down. This is the historic Nottoway Plantation. It is the largest antebellum plantation in the U.S. that was left. Now it is burned to smithereens. There's a lot to this story. Let's talk about it. This is John Hamden Randolph. John Hamden Randolph was from Virginia, but he came and became a Louisiana slave owner and sugar plantation owner. He owned the Nottoway, the Blythewood, the Forest Home, and the Bayou Gula. Now, the Bayou Gula is a bayou area of water that was named after the Muskegon Native American tribe, the Bayou Gula, and they basically stole it from the natives and named it the Bayou Gula. So very, very interesting who all was, damaged by the U.S. slave trade, Black people, Native people, and it was all taken over and just sold all by the whites in America. The plantation was huge. They had hundreds of year-old trees around it. And this plantation actually was named after where he used to live in Virginia. So that's what I'm saying. They were just using the land like Pokemon trading cards. And they had thousands of slaves. This mansion alone, this plantation alone had 64 rooms. And I'm actually going to do a little tour with you now and walk you through how those rooms looked before it all was burned down. So you can see the opulence that they made the Black people work for crumbs, and they lived in opulence. This mansion sat on 53,000 square feet. It had 360 windows and doors and 22 white panels. So this is a huge place, obviously, but you're seeing they kept a lot of that old antebellum look intact, and they used it as a museum. The press came out of Louisiana, of course, and they came out and said this is a huge loss for the state of Louisiana because this is a huge tourist spot. Now, I've heard of Iberville before. Shout out to Messy Maya, R.I.P. Messy Maya, because Messy Maya was from the Iberville Projects. Remember that song, Abba, 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 Abbaville? I used to listen to that back in the day before Messy Maya passed away. So those are the descendants of the slaves, probably of this man. You see this was a palace. Now, these people went on to marry other plantations owners just to simply make their thing bigger. I mean, his mother-in-law went on to marry a U.S. senator. That's how big this money had gotten. Let's continue to take a tour. And I'm so grateful that it's burned to the ground, because to wake up every day and live in the back houses, the outhouses, eat the scraps, eat the nothing, and these people live prim and powdered and pressed in a 64-bedroom home while you work, and every single day their only job is to get up and feel their best and do whatever makes them the happiest, to expand their family legacy and continue on their generational wealth. And it's all on the backs of you, and you work for nothing. These were the 1800s, so it wasn't even sharecropping. This was completely working for free. The decadence of these curtains shows the money and the opulence that these people had. These were all imports, very expensive, or sometimes made by the slaves themselves. And I'm glad it's gone. A lot of people are celebrating. A lot of people are going to take pictures. They were there when it was burning down. People were like, kind of like, meet me there. We're going to get food after this, like it was church. And I absolutely loved every minute of it. I would have had to, like, not trying to be funny. You don't have time to get your hair done while this is burning. But I would have tried to do a little baby hair, went out there and got my selfie. I'm not going to hold you. Shout out to it. These are the descendants of those slaves. Let it burn. It burned for over 18 hours. The firefighters did what they could. They were just pouring water into rubble. So it really was pointless. And this is all that was left. They're not going to be able to rebuild this. They should never rebuild it. They need to scrap, get rid of the whole thing, and rebuild something for the Black people in the Iberville community. And I love to see it.
I know y'all seen this. It's been all over my For You page. The Nottoway Plantation out in Louisiana, it has burned to the ground. On this page that I'm looking at, it's described as a fairy tale, surrounded by mature live oaks, magnolia, and pecan trees. It takes you back in time. They also describe it as truly a bucket list experience. The full name is the Nottoway Plantation Resort. It sits on property 31 acres large, has 40 rooms, including 5 suites. The property has a restaurant and bar, lounge and fitness center, tennis courts, outdoor pool and cabana. And of course, the property is perfect for weddings and parties. 15,000 square foot event space. That'll take care of all that. And get this, they go into talking about the owner, the original owner of this plantation, John Hamden Randolph. He purchased the land in 1855. And of course, we know that this plantation was built by slaves. Goes into talking about the beautiful property, and it faces the Mississippi River, which was a major transportation hub for steamboats and all of that stuff. And that's all it says about the history of this plantation. I have to go over to Mildred and have a conversation with Mildred to learn that the plantation housed 155 enslaved Black people. It was a sugar plantation. But you see, this is how they want history taught. They don't want to talk about the ugly side of history, about what their ancestors did, how they enslaved black people, how they treated black people inhumanely. Barbarism was the key point of slavery, and they don't want to talk about it. There is no mention about slavery. The slaves he owned doesn't even describe it as a sugar plantation, describes it as Nottoway Plantation Resort. And I'm looking on this little map, and then way in the back, way back yonder from the main house, the big house, I see something, a row of cottages. That's what they're calling slave houses now. Cottages. Imagine all of the money that has been made off of this plantation that was built off of the blood, sweat, and tears of black people. Imagine all of the money that they have made, and I guarantee you not one red cent went to the descendants of the slaves that built this plantation. Not one red cent.
A plantation burned to the ground in Louisiana.
Good.
It's actually bad because it's a historic landmark. It shouldn't have burned down.
Shut up.
Ignorance. People use this historic landmark to have their weddings there.
Don't
be mad because you're single.
The fact that people are having weddings there says enough for me to not care.
But it has nothing to do with race. They just think it's romantic. Even though a black employee was fired after the boss told him to dress historically accurate and he showed up as a
How is it
slave.
an important piece of history, but we're also going to get mad for someone dressing historically accurate?
We need to keep our historic landmarks intact. It's important. So we don't repeat it again. It never should have
If
burned.
you'll justify this, you'll justify anything. To me, you're a garbage piece of crap.
What are you saying? It's okay for us to agree to disagree. And it takes two to reach an understanding.
No, there's no understanding here. There's no meeting in the middle here. You're just wrong.
You're going to call me wrong for having an opinion? I just want to protect historical monuments.
I don't care about your ignorance anymore.
No!
You're just wrong, and I'm glad it burned down.
While it is weird that the fire started out of nowhere, people are saying it was God who intervened. And there was
I don't
no
advocate
suspects.
for any illegal activities, but whoever casted Fireball...
This isn't Baldur's Gate 3. You need to have more sympathy. Now people can't get married there. Shame on you.
It doesn't matter. We're not doing this anymore. We're not putting up with this anymore.
You are ignorant.
It's too late. We need to bring back the Plantation 2025.
Guys, the fact that white people are out loud crashing out about this plantation is beyond me. They're like, it's our heritage. Bro, it's giving me Auschwitz. Like, you shouldn't be having weddings there. And you shouldn't be that upset. Like, I get it, but you should not be that upset. Actually, I don't get it.
I was having a very interesting conversation with my friend, Margaret, who has a great account right now as she's renovating her house. But she studied architecture and more specifically has done work in landscape architecture, as well as other things. And she brought up such a good point with the plantation burning that just occurred 2 days ago. To preface, that place was evil. It was being used as a resort. It was being used as a wedding venue. It was being used as like a convention center. Pretty much the exact opposite of the Whitney Plantation, which is also in Louisiana and does a really beautiful, nuanced, and important job of talking about the atrocities that occurred on that land while also giving dignity to the enslaved people who were living there and not erasing them. Because the point of all of that history is that it can't be lost or forgotten or like tucked under the rug, but it does need to be honored properly. And she sent me something this morning that was discussing this with the plantation burning. And I hadn't thought about it this way, because when I saw the plantation burning, I said, well, I don't know what to say. And what I think it was trying to grasp at was that there's a lot of craftsmanship that went into building that house. There was a lot of work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that went into building that large, humongous house that most likely was built by enslaved peoples from that plantation. And I had not thought about it in that way, because I think, of course,
I hear the word plantation, I'm like, what is wrong with, why would you ever want to be on that? Why would you be around it? But there's a whole other context of like the work that was put into those buildings took time, it took skill, it took serious labor and trained skills from like, I don't know, blacksmiths. So are silversmiths the word? Is that it? Like people who were doing the work in that time who had these skills but were not given the credit due to the fact that they were enslaved. And when that gets burnt and erased, will they continue to honor that? Once it's there, will they just try to rebuild it? Will it then be demolished and will it become like a mall? Like what is the proper way to address what happened to people on that land without erasing it completely or like celebrating it, which I've also found really interesting. I think this was kind of talked about in Florida when the hurricane was happening as well, because a lot of people who were the hurricane that was on the western coast of Florida and near Tampa, they were saying there were a lot of tribal burial grounds there that had been messed with or moved, and that's why they were like, that's why the hurricane's coming. And I thought about it when I was saying just now, what happens when sacred land or land that had people killed or murdered or tortured, enslaved in mass, gets ignored and becomes like a mall or a parking lot. And then you think about the entirety of the United States. You think about all of the line of the Trail of Tears. And it's like you have to sit and be like, right, because we're already doing that. And to be fair to a lot of black people in this country who are descendants of enslaved peoples, myself being one of them, my ancestors did not choose to come here and were made the best of what they could. And what else can you do but either reclaim that land for yourself or do something like the Whitney Plantation, which has done a really great job of trying to keep those stories sacred but not erase what happened or erase the work that was put in. So I've been thinking about that a lot today in this rant. It's not even a rant, just like ideation really, because how do you exist and carry the stories of those before you with giving it its due and respect, but also recognizing like it was a plantation, like what it represented was bad. And why I think this particular one I'm like about is because they were using it as a venue for people to get married. They were using it to have people come and visit, and they were not explaining the history and the complexities of what went on there other than the fact that they knew it was a plantation. I think I saw it was either a TikTok or a post somewhere saying like it allowed people to envision their lives in the antebellum South. Okay, so if I went there, am I supposed to envision my life, what it would have been in the antebellum South in the 1850s and 60s? Because you know what? I would personally rather not relive that or recreate that. I don't want to cosplay into antebellum South. I'm so good off that. And particularly, I recently found this out a few years ago that I'm from DC, and my great aunt told my mom that our ancestors who were enslaved helped to build Georgetown University. What? And like, I grew up going to Georgetown, being around there, seeing the university. I've been on the campus several times. And then to be told, so yeah, you knew the people that built this. And then I sat and thought, every single monument. And like, I knew this, but then I was like, well, if they were building Georgetown, what else were they building? And the White House alone, once again. And then I sit and I was thinking like, and I think that's why the complexity of being a Black American is so like, what is it? Once again, Sinners, thank you for awakening this in all of us. But there is so much artistry. Like if you've been to DC and you've seen the monuments, if you've seen all the statues and all the things that are there, if you've been on a White House tour, or if you've seen pictures of the White House or the Capitol, who do you think built that? Who do you think was actually doing the work and crafting things properly? That is skilled labor. That is not just like whatever. That took time, that took effort, that took years. And to see all of that, if that were to like go away, that is also a loss of the work of so many people who their names will not be on those buildings. Their stories would be forgotten. And it's really tough when looking at all these institutions, particularly in the South and Mid-Atlantic, because of that. It's like we know that it held evil, and also this is the work of, my ancestors in particular for Georgetown, which is a beautiful campus, by the way. If you've been to DC and seen the Georgetown campus, you can see the architecture. It's beautiful on purpose. And then you think, oh, who did that? Apparently part of my family. And I was thinking about all this when she brought this up to me with the plantation burning, and I was like, oh. But to be clear, the plantation can burn. It already has, obviously. The people running it were evil, clearly, or very insensitive. But it is a lot to think about when we think about who did build this country at the time that it was being built up in that way. Also, Georgetown University. If you are not saying, I could come, when I'm done my PhD, like speaking situation, teaching, let me know. I'm actively getting my PhD. When my mom told me that, I was like, I wonder what they have for people who are descendants. Like, they have anything for that? What should I look up? Thank you for watching this rant. Bye.
I used to be a tour guide at Nottoway Plantation. Nottoway was not talking about history properly. They regularly threatened my job because I was, quote, too emotional about the historical context and slavery there. I was there from 2017 till 2020 when COVID hit. The amount of ridiculous nonsense that I had to talk about on that tour was overwhelming. Dutch people, when they came in, because there were thousands of people from all around the world that would come in, the Dutch people knew more about the history of the transatlantic slave trade than the majority of people that worked at the plantation. I'm glad it burned down. Make no mistake. The type of history that they were teaching there was a bunch of just headline stuff. It was a bunch of buzzword stuff. I mean, honestly. I'm in Facebook groups and looking at people's posts about it being burned down, and the only thing that they're talking about is, this architecture. Oh, did you know that they would hide jewelry in the bedpost? Oh, did you know that these curtains were reproductions of the ones from Gone with the Wind? And the way that the script for the tour was written was framing John Randolph as a slave owner who wasn't that bad. He was nice, blah, blah, blah. And I absolutely refused to talk about that. I went against the grain. I even upset somebody to the point where they told me that calling him a shyster was racist. Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, he was a shrewd and calculating businessman who put profit above all else, including his own family. And he was a coward who ran away to Texas whenever the war started. There's all this mythology about how, the lady of the house went out one time, and the reason why the house was saved is because she had a knife under her skirt and she was ready to kill those people, blah, blah, blah. She went ahead and said that they could stay there as long as they kept it up. There's zero proof or evidence of any of that. There are tons of paintings all around the house where they're like, this was the family, this was the family, this was the daughter, this was that. And like, none of it is true. None of it is true. I remember whenever the news stations from all around the country were calling plantations and asking them to make a comment on the Knot, that wedding magazine, removing plantation weddings from their advertisements. And I couldn't give any sort of statement, but I went off record and went off. So yeah, I'm glad Nottoway's gone. Nobody who's actually owned it really cared for the actual real history of stuff out there. And they really just wanted to be able to continue charging people $50,000 plus for weddings there. Which also, shame on you if you think that that's a good place to have a wedding. You're an idiot. And no, the house itself was not haunted, but the grounds were absolutely cursed.
It's wild watching the celebration of that burning of that Nottoway plantation. And if you ask yourself, well, why? Because America as a nation has never dealt with slavery, enslavement, all of it. Just haven't dealt with it. It's not really taught on any deep level at all, or any deep level. The Confederacy and white supremacy is excused, sanitized, and all of its depravity is hidden. I posted a couple things about that. I made a postcard up because, they used to make lynching postcards and have picnics and celebrate lynching black people and ripping it, dismembering them and giving parts to people to save. And white people did this. And I posted that across different social media apps, and many white people were in my comments going, what do you mean they have postcards? And I'm not talking about the schools not teaching about slavery and segregation and Jim Crow and everything. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about families not teaching it. Because all your education about America is not going to come from your schools. It should, but it's not. We've established that over the last 150 years. It's not coming from your schools. It needs to be coming from your families. Families don't teach that. Generation after generation after generation don't teach that. And the bearing of that, of who we are and how we got here, is a cancer. And it just spreads and spreads throughout the body of this nation. And it is just making it sick. And that sickness has taken a long time to get to 2025, but it's here. And it's not gonna go away. And I just wish more people would try to understand, more non-black people try to understand why we celebrate such things. It is a pushback. It's a pushback.
Someone said, because we made the gingers black, when that Annabelle doll got to New Orleans, she got to work. I've never seen that damn doll before. Like, I don't watch those kinds of movies, but I've seen the commercials. I didn't realize Annabelle was Raggedy Ann. My ginger sister. And like, I love us for real. I really do. Because the fact that I saw multiple videos of people showing up to watch that godforsaken, cursed ass house burn to the fucking ground. Y'all showed up with like bottles and like champagne and sitting there cheering. I love us for real. And like, I don't give a fuck about that house. I don't give a fuck about that house. That house can burn to the ground. Okay, let every soul that is trapped be cleansed and released by that fire. Okay, plus the motherfuckers got insurance to the high heavens. I fuck that house. Right? Y'all having an interesting week down in New Orleans over there in Louisiana. That cursed ass plantation burned down. People escaping from prison by like the fucking Shawshank Redemption of escapes. But you know what? Yeah, it's an interesting week out there. Shout out to y'all.
This is all I got from this video, and I am asking why are they asking why black people are happy? You don't know why they are happy? Go and read your book. And this is also one of the reasons why we keep saying there is need for them to learn their history, because they do not know anything. And when black people speak, they tell you that it's been long ago. This has always been it's been long ago. Get over it. So I am going to say I am very sad for the history lessons lost, being lost, but I am joyful and very grateful, that justice is being served. And what I am going to say, a very huge shout out to our ancestors for doing a great job. One down, more to go. More to go. So for me, a great news it is. The ancestors, they have spoken. And as it burn, I can hear the ancestors rejoicing because the roof, all of it is on fire. Nobody's calling 911. Do not call anybody. I love the fact that it burned. And I hope it can never be rebuilt. Yeah. That is some people's sweat and blood. Black people sweat. Your ancestors sweat. And they think having wedding there is what they want. It's called cottage and British cottage, right? You all go to the cottage for weddings and all that, vacation, or do what you want to do. On people's sweat, where people labored, where people were on a lot, where people were so many things, but break and the rest of it. All of a sudden, it became a trip field for you people. And all the money that is being made from all this, my people aren't getting it. This is one of the reasons why each time I talk about reparations and some of them start, I do not owe you people, and you all owe. You owe. And directly or indirectly, you are going to pay it. I don't know how, but eventually you guys are going to pay reparations. So each time they wake up, and why are they even being mad or asking why are Black people rejoicing? So you don't know. You don't know why Black people are rejoicing. That you all turned where their ancestors were enslaved into something to catch fun. Because everything is fun for them, Everything. You leave them one day, they will enter grave and tell, yeah, I just needed to talk to you. Because everything seems to be something to explore. Well, like I said, one down, more to go. I think I'm going to. No, we're not sad. We're happy. We're rejoicing. We're grateful for that, the fact that it burned, I'm saying thoughts and prayers for those that think that that is where I wanted to have your wedding. That is where I wanted to do this because you all are silly. Sometimes when I see people getting ready or saying that I am having my wedding at the plantation, like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? That you're having your wedding. I love it. I love the fact that it burned. Amen. I can watch this. I have seen the video several times. I can watch it over and over and over. One thing I know is that they know how to turn your sadness, what got you upset or what got you worried, your sadness, they know how to turn it to something to profit off. They know how to look for a way to make money off Black people. And it is time to pay reparations. And when they make that money, you know how it is, generational wealth. They are going to enjoy the money till, this generation will enjoy the other generation. And then when you ask them, they will tell you that my ancestors never. This is also part of the things their ancestors, only their ancestors are. These are the things they took off people that look like me. And they are enjoying it. Majority of their generational wealth are the things they took up from my people. And then they will tell you not to talk. Black people will continue to talk. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.